Today talk is on the OpenStack to infrastructure journey, how OpenStack has been started, what all things it provide, and how currently it's being moved to the open infrastructure. So myself, Ghanshyam Mann, I work as a cloud consultant in NEC. In OpenStack, it has been around more than 8 years or something. I'm currently a technical committee member since more than 2 years, and NOAA core member, QA core member, and also served as a previous PTL in QA project. So let's start with the NEC in open source. So NEC is being like more than 20 years we are working in open source, starting with the Linux kernel and currently in OpenStack, OpenInfrastructure Foundation or Cloud Computing Foundation also. And with that 20-year journey, NEC India has joined OpenStack community since 2013. That time I traveled Tokyo and joined the NEC Japan upstream team. And since there we started and building the team in India. And currently we have around 15 or 20 people working full-time upstream over the different OSs. So these are the 6 OSs community we currently contributing in OpenStack as well as in CNCF side, Kubernetes, Envoy, Open Service Mesh from that Microsoft, and KEDA and KubeVirt also we recently started. So we have, and all this complete team is like full-time on the upstream. They don't have any like downstream task or activity to do. So now let's see the OpenStack. So OpenStack, it's all started in 2010 in NASA. And there was a talk in 2015 Vancouver Summit given by the WIS, and he described all this, all the background and how the OpenStack being started. In NASA, there was more than 3,000 sites, and the idea was to put them on the cloud, on private cloud, obviously, because it's a government organization. They cannot put it on public cloud. So for that, they started in 2010. And during that time, on April 9th, 2010, 8 people started to create the Python-based cloud software. And it was NOAA and Swift. That time, NOAA is for computing service, Swift for object storage things. And during that time only, also like Rackspace was building the same kind of compute services on Python-based, and they found like there's another effort going on from the NASA side. So they collaborated, and they came up with the OpenStack with NOAA and Swift. NOAA initially it was with KVM only, but as Rackspace had the Zen-based a lot of business and customers, so the Zen-based driver is also integrated in NOAA that time. And that time it's the journey started. The Cinder, the volume services being separated out from the NOAA code base. The volume part from the NOAA it's been separated as the separate project, and the Keystone also like as a authentication services being initially started. And in Folsom release 2013 time. So that time there was a like huge architecture change in OpenStack where Neutron, the networking thing, Glance for image building and all, they are also being separated out from the NOAA code. So it was growing with more than 2 or 3 projects. And that time I joined this community during the Folsom release. And from those, since then, now we have this, our current OpenStack landscape. We have more than 50 projects currently. And the OpenStack is broken with into the services, library, client, deployment tools, plugins, or testing tools. They're all like categorized into a different set of options for the operators. So deployer or operator, they can build the solution based on their requirement, their use case, and there might be sometime there might be the alternate solution for that, like for the deployment things in lifecycle management. You have a lot of options. You can do with the Ansible based project, or you can do like with the Puppet, or you have a lot of RPM things also. And yeah, So this is OpenStack, and it's a cloud infrastructure for virtual machine, bare metal, and container. Initially, it was being like read or understood as virtual machine things only, but it's not true anymore. And because it provide it control large pool of resources from computing, storage, or even networking, and from even on the container side also we have a lot of project integrating with like say Magnum Zoom, and there are many other like 50 project also there which also provide like orchestration, fault management, high availability. There are a lot of things, toolings are also present, so it's more than the virtual machine. And in terms of the usage, if you see, most of the cloud deploy open source cloud software in the world, and currently it's around 15 million compute cores around the world in all the industries like finance, research, telecom, even retail. So 15 million compute core are being running on the OpenStack. I'll show some of the case study in the next few slides. OpenStack, yeah, run on OpenStack, and many industries use case. The OpenStack runs very critical workload across the different industries and use case. Few of them are these, like these are the screenshot. The picture might not be very clear, but if you see like the China, like Postal Saving Bank of China, they have I think more than 35 or 40 outlet, and they have 400 or 500 million customer by using the OpenStack. CERN is a very well-known OpenStack user. They have more than 300,000 core of OpenStack, and also 500 plus Kubernetes cluster using the OpenStack Magnum project. And these screenshots are the use case study from the different industries, from healthcare to finance. And one example is also Commonwealth Bank, one of the world's largest bank. They also use OpenStack as of their basic of its entire data management platform. And these are retail side. Snapdeal India is the largest Indian online market. They have 100,000 plus store. Walmart, they run with I think more than 700 or 750 plus score, 750,000 plus score. And yeah, there are a lot of other examples also in e-commerce. E-commerce, I think, has a huge workload running on the OpenStack side. So these are the uses and how OpenStack is being running in the world in different industries. And we celebrated the 10th anniversary also this year in July. And you have seen a lot of posts and blogs from the different people over their 10 years journey in the OpenStack. And yeah, it was like we had only virtual celebration because of COVID thing. We could not meet and celebrate this 10 years, but that was fun. So with this huge community and a lot of like use cases are there, many people or industries are using it. So what's the secret behind this community? Why, or you can say how this community is running so successful? And the secret is the for open in my experience. Any community, especially the open source community, where things are open, and if they are not so collaborative or so open, they cannot survive much, right? They can start with this. You can attract the people, you can attract developer, user, operator at the initial stage because of their use case, but how you survive along the like decade is a very big thing. And these four opens play a very important role in this. If you see, first is the open source. This is the like open source license. Any of the software in open source, they have to have the open source license. This can be used or modified in your industry and all. So that obviously OpenStack also has. And open design. And open design guarantee, like it has a transparent and open process for planning and designing the software. For example, if you are implementing any feature, or if you're like discussing any feature, it cannot be in your private channel. It has to be open in the community communication channel. It is either it is a chat, or it is any event, or it's a code or design discussion. So everything has to be public. It has to be open. It's not like you can discuss something in your private things and you can add the vendor lock-in feature in OpenStack. No, that cannot be happen. Open development. It also, yeah, and this also like all the development process, like all the tooling we use in our development process has to be open. It's not like the discussion or any ID or something I'm using any proprietary things in OpenStack. No, it has to be like all the tooling and everything has to be open, and it doesn't like require you to pay anything or require any special license agreement or anything. It doesn't require anything, so it has to be purely open. And open community, yeah, that's also important. In open community, it's open for everyone. Anyone can join this community. Anyone can run the project leading election, also technical committee election, or even the board of member election. So there is no restriction on anything. So as long as you are eligible to run for that position, or you are eligible to maintain the project, you are always welcome. There is no restriction on that. Even like, for example, even if I started any project and it's under the OpenStack, so that for me, I'm not the owner of that project. Like I'm just a maintainer of that project, even though I have started that. Even you are starting now, so it's the equal right between all of us. So there is nothing like I'll be more decision approving for that project. No, it's open community. Anyone can join and anyone can maintain any of the software code also. So these 4 opens are very important, play the very important role in OpenStack communities, and even from the board of directors side also, if any of the project coming in under this OpenStack or OpenInfra umbrella, these 4 open has to be fulfilled by that project. And now we will see some of the stats, like how OpenStack community has been and currently being. We had around more than 100,000 community contributors, more than 690 organizations from 195 countries. Initially, it was like huge developer communities, or even the event also, there were huge participants. Currently, it is less compared to those, but still we have very much active things on that. And till now, we had around 22 on-time release. Yeah, till Victoria release, it's 22 on time. And we had 2 projects in 2010, as you see in Nova and Swift. Now we have more than around 54 projects. And 500,000 plus code has been merged. And every day on average, we see 900 changes are being proposed. So they run under the CICD and all this stuff, which we'll talk next. And from corporate side, we have 68 corporate sponsor, which is recently being changed as a silver membership, and gold and platinum member. 30 gold platinum member we have, and out of these, like we have the 24 board of director, where every platinum member have their board of director. Gold member has 8 seats, and 8 seats are from the individual board of director from the community or anywhere. So on technical leadership side, we have 9 elected technical committee members, which used to be 13 initially. Then we now reduced, because of the workload and all, we reduced it to the 9. And 54 elected project lead. With the project lead, team lead means so the technical committee members are at the high level, decide the direction and or the common strategy, common technical strategy across the OpenStack, but each project has the project lead, and all the technical debates and everything has to go on the project side. So technical committee doesn't govern or dictate any of this much technical discussion which are specific to project. So these project leads play the picture in that, and they make the decision, they organize the things. Obviously, the technical agreement and everything has to be done by all the contributors of that project, not by the project lead. But project lead helps to organize the things and plan the feature and all. And in the previous cycle, we had another model. We introduced another model also, which is distributed leadership model. where you can have the different roles license from the project team, like release license or testing license, uh, and they can serve as a like a point of contact for that, similar to like what we have in the Kubernetes also. We have 1,000 plus volunteer maintainer in current state. They are either the core of the projects or they are the active contributors. And yeah, 1,000 plus active contributors still we have. These are the some stats collected for the previous 3 release, Victoria, Ishiri, and Train. And if you see in OpenStack Victoria, we had 20,000 plus code changes merged by 800 contributors from 160 organizations from 45 countries. Ishiri had little more, 24 plus code change and 1,000 contributors from 180 organizations, 50 around same countries. And Train is also almost the same stat. So across like recently also we have more than 25,000 plus code change, which is not the less number. And with that only, like OpenStack is the third most active open source project, along with I think Linux kernel and Chromium, and then OpenStack comes. And it's been like for 1.5 or 2 years. In every release, like in every year, OpenStack has been the third most active open source project in terms of the code changes and all this stuff. And this much code, we have to have the very strong CICD pipeline for that, because 20,000 code in the 6 months of the release cycle. So every release cycle in OpenStack is a 6 month. So 6 month cycle, 20,000 plus code change can break the stability, right? So the code getting is the very important. So in OpenStack, we have Joule, which we will talk a little bit in the end of the slide, and we have all the testing tools. So they play a very important role. And if you see, yeah, so if you see these stats, 1,000 plus gates test cycle we have in a working day, and around like 100 or 900, 1,000 patches are being proposed. And then we have 1,000 plus test cycle on each gate. So if you multiply, it will be like you have the 1 million plus test case running in a day, which verifies the proposed code before it merges. It verifies all the integration testing also, and including your unit or functional testing also, and your code style check also. So everything has been verified first, and then only it's been merged. And yeah, now we'll talk about like the governance and the team structure in the OpenStack, how different team plays the role and what are their responsibility in that. And this is our complete graph, complete picture for all the group and team. If you see the board working group, board committee, and board of director. So these are under the board of directors, which are obviously the governance body representing all the foundation member also. And they have different working group also, like intro working group is there, and we have diversity working group, and there are finance working groups. All these management layer and management working groups are under the board of directors. Technical committee and technical working groups. OpenStack technical committee is the governing body of OpenStack as a project, and it's being elected by contributors. So every 6 months we have the 4 and 5 seat selection, and every member is being elected for 1 year, and they decide the common strategy and the common practice among the OpenStack. Technical group, we have the special interest group also, and which we'll talk next, and we'll have election working group, which take care of the technical election things. Now, project team, these are the major long-term maintainer team for any project. So they produce the OpenStack release. So this can be like Noah project team or Cinder project team, Neutron project team. So they have the core group who has the rights to merge the code, and they also actively develop the code. They release the code in the different milestones, and they have the PTL also who manage the team and who plan the feature deliveries and the release is time, etc. Obviously, the technical discussion is being all done by the complete team. ETL doesn't play much like a single entity role in that. It's more about like managing and doing the things on time. And next is SIG, Special Interest Group. So they're also long-term mission, but their group they doesn't produce the code and they doesn't produce the software release. They might have the code repository under them so that they can like have the either the document or some of the guiding or tooling they can have under their SIG. And we have a lot of SIG in that, like we have API SIG, which give us the guidelines on the APIs, how the OpenStack APIs should be, the common guidelines or interop guidelines. We have first contact SIG for the new contributor. We have large scale SIG, auto scaling SIG. There are a lot of different groups. The main idea behind the SIG was like different groups of the people and expertise. They get together and they discuss with the use case requirement or anything that can feed into the or input into the project team to the developers. And then developers work together with the SIG and they implement the software. Next, pop-up team, they are the short-term team. Pop-up team idea was for the cross-project features. For example, say if we have any feature which has to be implemented across different projects or involve different projects, then they can make a pop-up team, and which can be with the one or two member as a leader in the pop-up team, and then they organize the work which has to be done in the different projects. Because when the feature has to be implemented within the project, you have the team which you are always working with. So it's easy to get the agreement, it is easy to get the review and all, and you can finish the feature. But if it requires more than one project with more than one team together, it's challenging, obviously. It's always challenging in company also, even though we have a single boss and with different two teams, but they always differ in their opinion and all. But even in open source, you can imagine like how challenging it can be. So this pop-up team plays the very important role in that, and they collaborate with the different teams or even the technical agreement also. And once the purpose of that cross-project integration of the feature is done, then pop-up teams can be closed. Currently, we have two pop-up teams. One is on the image encryption side, and one is the RBAC side. On RBAC side has to be done in all the OpenStack project, which me and Relco is leading. So that is, these two teams are active currently. Community goal, these are per cycle goal. And in per release cycle, a technical committee defines few of the community-wide goals where work has to be done in all the OpenStack projects. Those technical wide goal can be like from the user perspective also, or from the code maintenance also. So it depends like in which release, what all goals are being proposed, or what all like the priority work is. And there is no like number of, there is no limit on number in the community goals. We usually do the 2 community goal per release. And in next release, which is our release up after the, I think, March 2021, there we decided to not to have any community goal, to give us some relaxed time to the project team because of the COVID thing, or to have the stabilization of the previous goal or any of the feature. But this community goal also plays a very important role when any of the common thing has to be done in all the OpenStack project. One example is the Python 2 to Python 3 migration. So it has to be done in all the OpenStack project, and someone has to drive it from the central place. So that was one of the goal in community, and we finished that in, I think, UCD cycle. So these are the team structure. Now let's talk about what OpenStack Focus in the recent releases, and what are the things we have finished or currently working. So these are the few things, like upgrade check is the one thing. So upgrade check is a tooling which helps you to tell you whenever you are going to upgrade your cloud from OpenStack 1 release to new release, either it's n to n plus 1 or whether it's n to n plus 2, the upgrade checks tool you can run, and it will tell you like what are the things are going to break and whether your upgrades are going to be okay or not. It doesn't fix the thing, just notify the things to you. For example, if in Noah, one of the config option has been renamed, or I have removed that config option after deprecation phase. So, and you're in the previous release, now you're upgrading to that release, which doesn't have that config option. And if you run this tool, it will tell you like, okay, you are relying on this config option, but in the latest release, this config option has been changed or removed. So you take the action. So that has been very useful for operator. Python 3 only, we finished in U3 release. Now all the OpenStack U3 onwards is Python 3 only. You cannot run OpenStack U3 or later release on Python 2. Because, yeah, Python 2 is already end of life. And offline doc we did as a community goal also. Like the idea with offline doc is all the documentation of OpenStack, either it is a project-specific documentation or installation guide, admin guide, or user guide. Those are available as a PDF version. So in the OpenStack doc site, if you see on the right top side, you will have the PDF link. You can download the offline version of that PDF and you can use it when you are away from the internet. And some of the like latest tested runtime we do, like how the OpenStack CICD should be running on role distribution and Python language. Currently, we are running on Ubuntu 20.04, CentOS 8, but we are moving to CentOS Stream because CentOS 8 is now going to be unmaintained after December 2021. So we are moving our CICD. We are in discussion still to use the CentOS 8 stream. Then OpenSUSE version was there. In Python 3.6 and 3.8 we test. 3.7 we don't test because if something is working on 3.6 or 3.8, obviously it will work on 3.7. And yeah, these are the few focus area we have completed also in few of the last two release. One is core infrastructure layer. Yeah, so main it's a focus on the reliability of the infrastructure layer. Like Noah added the support of cold migration and resize server between Noah cell. So in Noah cell, like you have the different cell architecture. You can say the different region. It's not region, but it's like different Noah cell. And if you want to migrate from one cell to another cell, that is also supported. And IPv6 was added in Courier. Courier is the container networking in OpenStack. And in Ironic bare metal project, they also added the support of hardware retirement workflow. So what are the core infrastructure? They are being like more focusing on the reliability side. And security and encryption, that is also one of the important things to focus in OpenStack. And a few of the features has been done in Octavia, which is load balancer project. The TLS support has been added in Cola also. Cola is a deployment tooling project in OpenStack. And we have in Neutron networking project, we had the support of stateless security group, so that you can choose either to have port with a stateful security group or stateless security group. Either one you can choose at a time. And idea of stateless security group was it allow operator to choose the optimized data path performance, because if you have the state full, it has to have the extra processing. So with the stateless, you can optimize the processing time and performance also. And few of the emerging use case, like Cyborg, which is the accelerated life management project in OpenStack. So Cyborg is being integrating the Noah that has been completed. Availability zone support in Octavia, that is also done. And CRI compatible runtime in June, which is a container project in OpenStack that is also completed. And I think Magnum also added the upgrade support for the Kubernetes cluster with the master or any of the worker node also. So those are the few things going on with the emerging use case side. And if you see, yeah, and another focus area is the integration with Kubernetes. That has been like a very demanding use case from the market side, you say. And we have done like few of the things completed also, and a few of the things ongoing. Like Courier has implemented the custom resource definition CRD, and Tacker also. Tacker is NFV orchestration project in OpenStack. They also added the support for additional Kubernetes object. So the infrastructure you use under the Tacker that can be used as like your Kubernetes cluster also. Ironic also introduced the standalone usage in Kubernetes. And next solution for complex networking issues. Yeah, one of that like IPv6 support in Neutron. And that also like in metadata service also now IPv6 is being supported. And Octavia, they have like the AZ zone also, and now they have the TLS proxy things. Courier also added the support of in the nested setup. When you have the virtual machine nested setup, so the auto detection of those setup and bridging has been added in the Courier, which is the container networking project. So these are the things has been completed and we are being focused on. And few of the things like going on, which has not been completed, but these are the main focus from the technical committee also, and from the user perspective. So one is the consistent and secure default RBAC. This is a pop-up team, which I'm leading this. So main idea about this is like in OpenStack, we have the around 54 projects. And out of 50, I think more than 30 project has the APIs interface where the user or any your script or SDKs, they can interact with the API interface. So with those API interface, we have the policy RBAC things, but those are not so consistent as a default. So you have to customize it. Even if you are using, any of you working on the OpenStack production side, you have noticed that your policy file is there and you have overridden the rules because default rules are not so usable for the production. So our effort is to make those default rules useful on the production side, so that the operator or provider, they need to customize the less rules as much as possible. And here idea is to divide between the role and scope. So if you see in the diagram, we have the three scope like domain, system, and project thing. And role also, we have admin, member, and reader. Admin is obviously can do write and read operation with lot of much authority. Member can do the read and write, but less authority than the admin. And reader is the new role we are introducing. And reader is also like read only, which can be used for the audit purpose. So combination of these role and scope will be defaulted for the each policy, so that whatever the use case of your production cloud is, that can be mapped with our default RBAC. So that's a huge work which is going on since I think 1 year, and we are targeting to finish it soon, maybe another 1 year or so. Next is user-facing APIs. So these are the clients, our SDK and clients, not the pure APIs. So on the SDK client, we are working on having a unified central Python-based client, or the SDK where you can do the different language binding. And that unified client will be served as a OpenStack command. You can do like OpenStack server create list, OpenStack volume create list, like that. So that is also one of the huge effort going on since past releases, and we are trying to get it done as soon as possible. but there are a lot of technical debate and challenge in that. But still, yeah, we are working on that. And yeah, so now let's talk about how now OpenStack Foundation now expanding from OpenStack to OpenInfra software. So you have seen like all the use case and how we work in OpenStack. So till now it was very centric to OpenStack as a software, as a community, or as a use case. But we have like a lot of things to be done in terms of the providing the or building the open infrastructure software. So that's why the idea came up, like to extend this community and this software to provide a big umbrella where you can have the different open source contributing to build the open infrastructure. And these are the statements from foundation side, and they're like staying true to our mission on helping people behind and operating the open infrastructure. So in open infrastructure, like how all the open source project, their community, and the consistency between, or the you can say the commonality between those community is the main purpose with the foundation. So this is the overall picture, like why we wanted to build open infrastructure and why we need open infrastructure. Like we had the OpenStack, right? We had the software, we had the community, we had the users, people are using, people are making money out of that. So why we are extending it? So it's not about just public, private, or hybrid cloud, but edge computing is one of the things. Container infrastructure you have to provide. Cloud, yes, either it's a public, private, or hybrid. And then AI, machine learning, and obviously the CICD, because there are a lot of open source software, right? If you have a open CICD software, then it will be easy for all of the open source projects. So these are the area where the foundation of the community started thinking of, and that is why the OpenStack now has been become to the open infrastructure. And with that, obviously OpenStack we have talked a lot, and Kata container is another. So open in the OpenStack, if I go to the previous slide. So with the Open Infrastructure Foundation, so OpenStack becomes one of the software project under the Open Infrastructure Foundation. And in parallel to that OpenStack as a project, we have a lot of other projects also. Like for container infrastructure, we have Kata container, we have Starling X, which we'll talk next. So there are different software projects, and the foundation becomes the OpenStack to Open Infrastructure Foundation. So one is the OpenStack, which obviously existing since starting, and another project under Open Infrastructure is Kata container. This is to build the secure container runtime with lightweight virtual machine. So it provides you feel and performance like container, but much more stronger workload and isolation with the hardware. And it provides the obviously the security with all the IO memory. All these operations are very isolated in terms of the hardware, and it has the compatibility with all the legacy virtual technology also. And it's not like previously, if you see the use case, like if I want to build a container on virtual machine, I build the virtual machine, then I boot the container on that. So it's not like that. So it provides the alternate, or you can say that it fulfills the requirement of those nested container inside the virtual machine, right? So, and it's been started in December 2017, and I think that was the second confirmed project in the Open Infrastructure Foundation, if I'm not wrong. I think second was June. This is the third, maybe. And latest release is 2.0. They are going to release next also. And next, if you see, yeah, Airship. Airship is also one of the confirmed project under the Open Infrastructure Foundation. It's actually it's a loosely coupled interoperable open source tooling on the provisioning, cloud provisioning, and all those stuff. So the infrastructure is being managed by the YML file, and you have the single workflow. Either you want to deploy the new of the software like say OpenStack or anything, or either you want to upgrade it. So there is no different mechanism or different workload to deploy and to upgrade. And Airship is very simple. Actually, it doesn't require like a separate orchestration layer on the production side. So it does everything at their own. And Airship 1.0 is available. 2.0 is going to be released soon. I think they're working on the alpha or beta version maybe. Next, Starling X. It's integration and development project to provide all the full software stack and for the edge computing use case especially, and it's secure T2 high availability, and even it also provides a container-based infrastructure for the edge use case, edge computing use case, and it's 4.0 is available release. And with OpenStack, I think OpenStack Stein was integrated with this still now. Maybe they have moved to the more latest release. Next, Joule. So this is for CICD. This was the second confirmed project in, I think, in OpenInfra Foundation. First was OpenStack, then second this. So this is a program that drives the continuous integration delivery. So whenever like project gating and integrated project gating it provides. Like in OpenStack, whenever any patch is being proposed, so all the testing, so all the infrastructure for the testing is being built by Joule, and then it runs the test cases, and then it makes sure like all the project is, all the proposed changes work fine or not. So if you have seen you have read the line, a very famous line with the Joule is stop merging the broken code. So if your code is broken, Joule will not merge that. And it's the Ansible-based playbooks. So with the Ansible playbooks, they deploy the OpenStack using their dev stack, and they also like do the cross-project dependencies. Like if I submit a patch in Noah and it has the dependency on say Cinder, so I can link the Cinder patch into my Noah patch so that it integrates both of the code changes into the master's code, and then it runs the test cases. So it makes sure like your cross project dependency are being tested together before they merge into a separate patch. And OpenInfra Lab is the new one, and this is connecting the open source project to production. So this is the lab like where provider users and infrastructure providers, especially, they came together and they test they integrate and optimize the open source in the production environment, and then they publish what are the results or the workload and all. So this has been an effort to fill the gap between the open source version of your software and the production level. As computing group, this is a working group. So this is not like a project which releases the software. This is a working group which has the different developer architect from the different companies, and they, especially from telco and technology vendors side, and they work like defining the use case of edge computing, and yeah, it's like more of like providing all the open infra projects for the edge computing use case. It's not about only OpenStack or anything. So it's about the complete open infra software you can use in edge computing. And yeah, this is OpenDev. So as we have seen, like open source, so which are free software, but they need also free tooling. Because if you have any open source project and your company want to contribute, and they have to pay for the developer tooling, either the development ID or the testing framework, if they have to pay it, then it's not the pure open source, right? So open source need the free tooling to develop software or to run the community. So OpenDev came into that picture. So initially, as a background, initially it was open infrastructure in OpenStack infrastructure in OpenStack, which take care of all these toolings and the requirement for all for the development of the community. And OpenDev is more than that also, and it provides the collaborative open source software development. It provides the tooling also, like Garrett, Joule, or the infrastructure also they manage for different software under the OpenStack Open Infrastructure Foundation. It may be OpenStack, Joule, or it can be like say Airship or Starling X. So OpenDev is providing all the free software for development of free open source project. And it's not limited to OpenInfra project only. If say you have your own open source project under your company or even under your simple group of people, you can also host those open source projects into the OpenDev stadium. And they have the different mechanism, like they use the Garrett as a review tool, which is different from the GitHub, which is the pull request and all. So the mechanism and tooling is different than GitHub and all, but they allow any of the open source project to come and use those tooling and host on the OpenDev. And yes, so in October, OpenInfra Summit, the foundation rename was also announced. So previously it was OpenStack Foundation, even though we had the OpenInfra projects, but the foundation name was OpenStack Foundation. That also renamed to OpenInfrastructure Foundation now. So if you see the link I have given, openinfra.dev, so that is the main site for the OpenInfrastructure Foundation. And under that site, you have the all the project sites separate. Like OpenStack has separate sites which has all the information, Airship, Starling X, everyone. So that was the brief idea on OpenStack Infrastructure Foundation. There are a lot of things also we are working towards making the Open Infrastructure Foundation thing. Like few of the IRC channel has to be renamed, which was previously used for OpenStack, but now it is for OpenInfra. And a few of the working group also, like we have to make it wider to work at the OpenInfra level compared to OpenStack level. So those work are going on, which will finish maybe in next 6 months or 1 year. And these are the focus, mainly focus from the Open Infrastructure Foundation. Obviously, the creating the new opportunity in market. So it's not about like the use case or the requirement for the OpenStack as a virtual machine management software. It is more than that now, right? So it's more than OpenStack also. So creating the new opportunity for those all the open infra software in market, and a strong model and governance for community, which I think is very important, because initially it was just OpenStack and it was one group, but now you have more than one group has to collaborate together. So a governance model for each community, which continue to be open for everywhere, is a very important, and I think the one of the key focus from the Open Infra Foundation. And last, yes, standardizing the OF Foundation work, which I talked, like a few of the working group has to be more wider to accomplish the Open Infra projects, not just OpenStack, or few of the naming also, like IRC channel and all, we have to finish the working. So now how you can contribute in this foundation or any of the project. So contribution is a lot more than just the code, because as a developer in the open source community, we see if you're a developer, you can contribute by code. But yeah, that is one of the good things, but it's more than that. And contribution is anything. It can be code, review. It can be documentation. So if you are not developer, that's fine. So if you are like a technical writer at your company side, or you are a blog writer, you are you write the articles. So there are a lot of scope or help required in the documentation side also. So you can help it, because developers are really bad in documentation. Even if I count me also, if I have to write the test case for code, I feel really happy. I have to write, if I have to write the documentation, I feel very lazy in that. So if you're not developer, you're good in documentation writer. So this community is very right place for you. Testing, obviously, that is one of the biggest part in any of the software. So if you are using OpenStack or Airship or Starling X, you are testing it in your local environment or in your company. So you can publish the test result, or during testing, if you find any bug, so you can report bug also. So that is very one of the great feedback uh, we we get in the community. One example is like in Tempest. Tempest is a testing tool in OpenStack. So in Tempest, what we have a lot of jobs and testing running, but we cannot cover all the production scenarios in upstream CI/CD testing. So there might be different configuration, different use case where you find the bug and you report it to the community, and then we fix it. So bug reporting is also a very valuable contribution. Discussion. So you can discuss the thing in the events. It is either physical or virtual. Like we have the OpenStack Summit or project gathering, or we have the IRC as a chat channel. You can discuss the things. You can feedback on the features. Like in the project gathering events, what we have the like features discussion, where we actually looking for like non-community team or non-developer to give the feedback. So the discussion and giving the feedback also a good part. Event, you can organize event in your local place. Translation also you can do. Obviously in India we don't need much translation. Everyone work with the English as a language. But in other countries like in Japan, when I was in Tokyo, so there was a translation team. So many of the local non-developer people, so they were helping in the translation also. So that also helpful. And local user group, you can create your local user group, and it doesn't necessarily to be like one local user group per country. Obviously, the country like in India, you can have more than one local user group who can organize event, or who can actually connect the developers or university student or many other open source lovers to the community and how they can contribute. So these are the contribution area, and there might be few more, maybe I have missed it. So don't think it's the code is the only contribution area. You have a lot other places where you can contribute. And how you get involved in the community, we have the different program. First Contact SIG is the group where any of the new contributor comes, we teach them like everything. Even if they are developer, we teach them how to contribute the code, what all tooling we use, and we direct them also, or we connect them with the project team also. Like if any developer want to contribute in Noah or Glance, we connect them with the Glance team or Noah team. And we have the project contributor guides. So every project, because we don't use the pull request from GitHub, so that's why we had the contributor guide in the each project in repository actually. So in each repository, you will have the contributor.rst, where you have the project or a repository specific contribution guide about their like when the team meet, when is their meeting, and what are the process or what are the area they need help. So those also you can refer. We have the upstream institute trainings. In every summit, we conduct the 1.5 days training, where we teach like how to submit the patch in OpenStack. We give the brief about, or the hands-on about all the toolings we use in OpenStack. So that is the very right place to learn about or to connect into that community. I think we had a lot of student training also, which Prakash has conducted in different area in India. And mentorship program we have, and outreach internship also we have with OpenStack. If you are a student, you can apply with that internship also. You get like stipend or money also, and you can get opportunity to like work with one of the mentor in OpenStack community. So these are the area places where we have the helping hands from the community side. But obviously, if you need any specific thing or your skill set is different than what currently our requirement is, there also we can help with like outreach program is there. And so these are the things you can come to us. I think that is, yeah. So that's all from my side. You can reach out to me at my Gmail or Twitter, but I'll open up for any question from the audience side.
Yeah, Ghanshyam, thank you for that. First question to you before we close this is, how do you see the transition from OpenStack towards open infrastructure? Because the existing staff is more focused on OpenStack in spite of our attempt for last year and a half, I believe. So how do we pull them into open infrastructure contribution? Example, if I say Institute Day, then they only talk about OpenStack Institute.
So
I tell them I want open infrastructure, that doesn't get audience for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenge, and you can say the one of the key focus area for foundation and as a community also. So we are transitioning a lot of things like IRC channel. If you've seen in the OpenStack discuss mailing list, all the OpenStack related IRC channel, like the summit related or PTG related or 101 related, we are moving those channel towards the OpenInfra side. And upstream institute also in the this virtual summit happened in October. So there we have divided this training into the two part. One is the teaching about the OpenDev tooling, which are being used in all the open infrastructure project, and second part is OpenStack specific. But yes, I agree. I think we had to do a lot of work in that transition, and the one of the big challenge I have seen, like even in the infrastructure maintenance also, the big challenge I've seen the resource requirement. So we need more helping hands. For example, in upstream institute training, we have a lot of mentors from OpenStack, right? I think including me, Jay, and there are a lot of other people who is continuously helping as a mentor to Kendall and Ildiko. But we don't have the much mentor from the Airship or Starling X or Kata Container. So those project team has to come up, give us some of the mentor in training or upstream institute, so that we can build the training towards the open infra compared to just OpenStack specific. So it has to be like more helping, or we have to collaborate more with the open infra project actually.
Good. We'll do that over next quarter or so to get it bootstrap it further. In the meantime, anybody, Chingappa or Ganesh or anybody, Malini or anybody wanted to ask Ghanshyam any question? He has given very comprehensive, very comprehensive details. So it's, I know it's difficult to absorb, but still, anybody, any questions before we can close? Last call. 1, 2, 3, nothing more. Thank you very much. So what I'll do is I'll stop the recording now for this and still continue.